Hi guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. I am super excited to be kicking off a new series on my channel that I'm calling Back to Cake Basics. In this series, I'm going to be sharing all the basic elemental recipes that you need to put together the perfect cake. I'll be sharing my favorite frosting recipes, favorite cake recipes, and today I'm kicking things off with the perfect chocolate cake. This recipe yields a really tender, moist, and super chocolatey cake. Let me show you how to make it. In a large mixing bowl, I've softened 1 cup of unsalted butter, and to that I'm going to add in 1 cup of white granulated sugar. Going to grab my hand mixer and beat the sugar and butter together until they're light and fluffy. Next, I'm going to add in 4 large eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and mix this all together. To really intensify the chocolate flavor in this cake, I'm going to be adding some coffee. I've measured out a 1/4 cup of water, and to that I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of instant coffee granules, and then just stir that to dissolve. I'm going to pour in the dissolved coffee, along with 3/4 cup of milk. And now onto my dry ingredients. I've measured out 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. To that I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of cocoa powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Just use a spoon to toss this all together. I'm going to sift my dry ingredients into the cake batter, and you want to do this to ensure that you don't get any clumps. And now I'm going to switch over to a hand whisk and whisk the dry ingredients into the cake batter. Now this type of mixing is really important because you don't want to overmix the batter. When you do that, the glutens in the flour start to overdevelop and you end up with a really thick, heavy, gummy kind of cake, and that's not what you're going for. And now the last thing I'm going to add into my cake batter is 1/2 cup of chocolate chips that I've melted in the microwave. And the chocolate is going to keep our cake really tender and moist. And mix in that chocolate into the batter. And now my cake batter is ready to go into the oven. Today I'm using 3 8-inch cake pans that I've lined with parchment paper, and I also recommend spraying down the sides with a good baking spray. Now I like to use a kitchen scale to weigh out my cake batter. If you don't have a kitchen scale, just try to measure out the cake batter as evenly as you can between the pans. Now this cake is great for 3 8-inch rounds, 2 10-inch rounds, a large jelly roll pan such as a 13 by 17 for a flat sheet cake, and it also makes 24 cupcakes. And spread the batter evenly to the edges. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and the cake layers bake for about 30 to 35 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Once you take your cake layers out of the oven, you want to let them cool in the pans for about 15 minutes, and now it's time to invert the cakes onto a cooling rack. And I like to keep the parchment paper in place, and I'm going to allow the cake layers to cool on the cooling rack completely. And that's it guys, my perfect chocolate cake recipe. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for your next cake creation. Now it's super important to allow these cake layers to cool completely before you do anything with them, before you level off the top, before you frost them. Now these are also great to make ahead of time. Just make sure you wrap them up real well in plastic once they're completely cooled. They can be stored in the refrigerator or the freezer. And that's it guys for my first Back to Cake Basics episode. If you have any special requests for my future episodes, head down into my comment section and let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.